All right, thank you for staying with us. Let's talk about, and we can be tired of talking about these. Some Nigerians, we feel, we run the risk of sounding like a broken record, like a terribly broken record when you talk about the speech and the, standing of opposition parties in Nigeria. In fact, there are some political watchers who feel we don't have any. Again, in fact, if you still have some by whatever nomenclature, they are just there. And people there are possibly, with due respect to them, many of them, stooges over the current ruling party and maybe of the powers that be in Abuja. Because how do you explain that almost all the parties are now having issues, especially the ones that you will want to see as alternatives? The Labour Party, in fact, since the 2023 election, in fact, before the 2023 elections, there was a Lamidia Pampa issue with the Julius Abure. And after that, you have Papa Julius Abure and Nadi Usman. Then later, the Papa interest part of it subsided, and it was Abure and Nadi Usman. The court pronounced recently, that it's Nenadi Usman as acting chairman of that particular party. And then the issues with the PDP, in fact, nobody wants to go there. But finally, they had their convention, which many persons might see maybe is a step in the right direction. Some will still have their concerns about that PDP convention, the latest that was done in Ibadan, in Abuja, because the one in Ibadan voided by the court again. So the latest is that of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, and in which the leadership, national chairman, and the national secretary of that party, they have been pronounced derecognized by INEC, and they are saying it is due to court action, actually. So when you check the INEC, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission, the midwife for every election, the umpire, what you see there is the chairman of ADC to be determined by the court. The chairman, the national secretary of the ADC to be determined by the court. And one will wonder, would we ever get to this day? But, the day is here and we are living it. And the ADC have been threatening fire and brimstone, the youth arm, threatening a showdown and a protest at the headquarters of INEC. Bolaji Abdullah described it saying, guys, we are going ahead with our congresses, and one knows what usually ends such congress if actually the matters are unresolved. These are the issues. But some persons will say, wait a minute. Even while the ADC and opposition party members, political watchers are pointing accusing fingers at the presidency, at the APC, using institutions of the state, agencies of the state, to do their own bidding. Now that the APC have, at least today, 31 governors, out of 36. Some persons are saying, what's the president afraid of? The APC and the handlers of the president have said they have nothing to be afraid of. In fact, Felix Morka, the scribe of the ADC, described the interest in the ADC as, close to be people of no political value, actually, disgruntled elements. So they are inconsequential, at least to them, in the APC. And so one would wonder what is really happening. Because some are saying there are internal wranglings, failures of these parties. They should know there are booby traps. They are very, very much to be pointed at than they, instead of they looking inwards as regards what is happening. They are busy, pointing accusing fingers out there. So we look into that because of the program today. It will be in twofold. Let's talk about the opposition parties in Nigeria. Right now, we are being joined by, former gubernatorial candidate in the States, architect Formidable, in our studios this morning. Good morning.
Thank you for having me, Femi.
Yeah.
And to meet up.
Here we are. Definitely, I can see you with the signal of the election as we used to know.
Yes,
the SDP.
Because in Osun State now, we are already campaigning for the governorship.
Okay.
So I am covered. Fully covered.
We get to that at the other side of it. So I take you as one of the opposition party members, as far as the SDP is concerned. But some will say, forget it. It's as far as 2027 is concerned, it's just a wait, and more like a formality, because you have the political big heads in the APC right now. And not just because they are individuals, they are more like influencers on their own. They have their bulk of voters, 31 out of 36 governors. In fact, the FCT is still being managed by an ally of the president who chose to be in the PDP, but is working for the APC as well. So that's on one side to say, let's January or whatever date just come. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is home and dry, except he's not wishing, to run. That's number one. And number two is the fact that why should all hands, especially the opposition fingers, be pointing at the APC and at the presidency for being the one killing, stifling these opposition parties, when you know that there is no way in all of these parties that you won't see myriads of court. In fact, the ADC, somebody counted 11 litigations within the ADC alone, just in space of less than 7 months. Now, if they can't put their house in order, why should President Bola Ahmed Tinubu be the most convenient person always? Why are the opposition not looking for one?
The opposition would essentially look inwards, and it is part of the looking inwards that will make the opposition speak what it speaks outwards. Because in looking inwards, the opposition discovers each time the hand of the ruling party. Because we have a unitary state in Nigeria, we just pretend to federalism. And so there is this all-powerful president, and who in this case is almost becoming an emperor who controls everything that is everywhere. I laugh when somebody like some wiki is referred to as the leader of the PDP, that now recognized by the government. You just made a reference to it, because this is somebody that we have seen several times, the way he greets President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, almost worshipping a deity. So you know that if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says he wants an acrobatic display from him to jump up 3 times, Wike will jump up 6 times and ask him to choose which 3 he wants. And if he's not satisfied with those 3, jump up many more times, and he's supposed to be the leader of an opposition party. So what further inwards must the opposition look to see that it is the hand of the powers that be of the presidency in all of this, and even it is the voice. So there is, this is not a matter of the voice of Jacob and arm of Esau, but this one, both hand and voice, are of the ruling party, making sure that everything was wrong with the opposition parties. Now, you also mentioned the fact that opposition parties have a myriad of cases.
Yes, they do.
Don't the ruling parties in respective states, and doesn't the ruling party in Nigeria also have a few situations here and there where people are disgruntled? But because
how come they've been able to manage them?
It's not a matter of being able to manage anything. It is because somebody is controlling all of the resources of Nigeria. I've often said it. The day we have true restructuring and devolution of powers and resource control at regional or state levels, then the president becomes as just one of the governors, which is supposed to be the case. He's just supposed to be an overseer of Nigeria. State governments and a federal government in a true federalist state will be coordinate governments. None is supposed to be more powerful than the other. But that is not the case in Nigeria, where the president is like the emperor, he controls all of the resources.
Do you know, even here on this program, and I've listened to many opposition party figures, including yourself right now.
Yes.
At best, what you've been able to do, I mean all of these persons, is conjecture is responsible. Is there any evidence, any critical evidence, fact to show that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the one stifling? I haven't seen it. Maybe you can show us this one.
I
Conjectures at best.
I have shown you one, but I know you must do your job as a neutral journalist who would still want to prompt me to emphasize the fact,
please,
that and is it A or An now? Some Wiki being propped up to be the leader of the PDP when the true PDP members gathered themselves together in Ibadan, Oyo State, and had their convention.
Well, what made them true PDP members?
Because they are the ones that are truly independent of the ruling party, and they are the ones that are the true opposition. You are asking about opposition politics.
Yes, please.
Are you telling me that Wike is an opposition politician? No. He is an establishment politician who is working for the ruling party, and he is the one that has been exalted above the true opposition. What more evidence do we require? And now that same person is being called leader, who would tumble 10 times in the presence of the leader of
the other ruling party. ADC?
The ADC.
At least you can't mention Wike in the matter.
We are taking them one by one.
Please go ahead.
The ADC has its own problems.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, we'll still go back to the issue of the establishment. And again, maybe not essentially Bola Ahmed Tinubu president in this case, but the system we run in Nigeria, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu is able to take advantage of it and harass the opposition. Where in the world do you have a true federalism and it is the federal government that registers political parties? I am not yet sure of one. If you know one other than Nigeria, let me know, because I know for sure that the United States of America, after which we have modeled our own presidential system of governance, has the kind of federalism that will make the states to register political parties. And therefore, if any governor would want to oppress any gathering of people and not allow them to register their own political party at that state level, there are federal courts to which they can be taken, whether it is the hand and voice of the governor or vice versa. The federal court will do something. To whom do you take the case of a president that is stifling a political party? And I will remind you that in 1968 in the United States of America, there was the case of William versus Rhodes. James William and his friends wanted to register a political party. There was this Republican governor, also James Rhodes, who said no and made it impossible, the same way that INEC is making it impossible for political parties to operate now. And what did William do? He went to a federal court and he pleaded only two things. The First Amendment, freedom of association. The 14th Amendment, equal protection for, of course, his party was registered. Aside of that, in the United States of America, we have independents contesting for elections. You don't have to be on the platform of any political party. Ross Perot contested to be president of the United States of America. I can't remember exact year, about the 1980s. Yes, he lost, but I still remember his name still today, that he gave a good fight in that race. You cannot do that in Nigeria. And so you now have a president who understands all of that, knowing that he is all in KBC. In Yoruba land, we call KBC the one that you cannot challenge. And because even if you dare to challenge him, all of his chiefs will be there and other coordinate KBC to say, no, you cannot touch him. So here is a KBC in the presidency right now who has the Supreme Court in his pockets, the appeal courts, he has the entirety of the judiciary, and you can ask me to prove that too later, and I will prove it to you of so many cases that ought not to have gone in particular directions, and those eminent jurists have taken them in those directions. So who is now going to dare the president of Nigeria and his INEC when they say that the meaning of status quo bellum is that before David Mark and Rauf Aregbesola became chairman and secretary? I am not a lawyer, but I'm studying law. Okay. So those who are truly lawyers will be able to explain better.
All right.
it is the point in time that I start boxing Femi in this studio that we are starting a quarrel, not when I entered the studio. So I would have expected ordinarily that for that case of the ADC, if not for the fact that INEC is trying to please its master, then it would have been that status quo ante bellum would be just before a matter was taken to court. And as at the time a matter was taken to court, who was the chairman of the ADC? It was David Mark. Who was the secretary of the ADC? It was Rauf Aregbesola. Look, let me say the major thing that I have come to say in this program. Okay. There should be a new national democratic one. A new NADECO should arise. And that is why, because somebody may say, oh, he's wearing the insignia of the SDP and he's talking to support the position of the ADC, we must all work together now. There must be a new NADECO that will ensure that democracy survives in Nigeria. The way we are going in Nigeria right now, with the APC and the president driving us towards a one-party state and pretending not so to be doing, we must come together as a people of Nigeria and make sure that democracy survives. It's going to be the APC versus the people of Nigeria, and there must be a coalition to galvanize the people of Nigeria and ensure that that happens.
Well, thank God you're here, architect. We've been talking about, I mean, that was where the conversation started with you and Femi, talking about the factions that just spring up in the night, and the fact that there have been talks that are workings or the hands of the ruling party in it. But now, I mean, from a senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, who has said, if we're not careful, APC will be the only one fielding candidates for the presidency.
Thank God that's from a lawyer,
and from another lawyer who is no more practicing anyway, Dele Farotimi, who says we might be having more like a selection. That was not how I put it, but we might be having, you know, a picked person, and we might be celebrating more like a selection and not an election per se, you know, with the way things are going. And I'd like to ask you too this morning, Ev, you're also, you know, a politician. You're a Nigerian as well. With the way things are going, how do you see things going? Where do you see this? If this is not done, what should Nigerians be doing at this time? You're talking about in NADECO as well. What if you wake up overnight and you begin to find factions in your coalition at the end of the day? So with the way things are going now, the judiciary is now picking who a political party, the leadership of a political party should be, the chairman, the secretary, and all of this. The advent of this, we're in a new Nigeria sort of.
Yes.
We're having factions.
Yes.
No non-opposition at this time, because everyone seems to have factions.
Yes.
Where do you see this sheep landing?
Let me tell you. In fact, the question I was expecting you to ask me, and which we are already prepared for as a political party, is now the Social Democratic Party is coming into prominence again, and at the different state levels, we are talking at the national level, we are talking, by the way, as I'm speaking with you right now, on your radio wave Frank Talk on Rave FM, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party in the 2023 elections, Prince Adewale Adebayo, will be on air. So as soon as I leave this place, I'll be going to listen to him. So I know that the SDP is all over the airwaves everywhere right now. So I was expecting you to ask me, are we afraid that the same measure that has been meted out to the PDP and now the ADC and the NN...
Well, we're going to get there.
And then will it also not happen to the SDP? That is why we are making enough noise so that everybody will see how they have been doing it. So it will be... I was going to
get there. I needed you to answer this.
Okay, I will answer this. But we just want the onus. Yes, the onus will be on the president to also come to deny that again. But if you are talking of the coalition and probable divisions within the coalition, are you assuring me that there are no divisions even within the ruling party right now? Is it everybody that contested as aspirants to be governor of Osun State on the platform of the APC that are still together.
The pride themselves every time with knowing how to manage
yes,
their home.
Let us be sure that eventually they will be able to manage my brother and good friend, Iyola Omishori. You know, he ran as governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party 2018 before I ran in 2022. We remain very good friends in spite of differences here and there. And I am not yet sure that he is completely satisfied with whatever offer the APC is giving him. So who told you that there are not such people in different states of Nigeria that when they see the direction of a strong coalition, and then there may be divisions within that coalition, but there will also essentially be major cracks and divisions of unsatisfied people within the APC. And the people of Nigeria will speak from their homes, telling their leaders, this is the direction that we want to go. We do not want a one-party state. And it will show that in 2027, there will be major shifts in parameters. And have you forgotten the hand of God? You must remember and let people at home know that I'm not just a politician. I'm a priest of the Anglican Church. And I pray. And I know people also pray across the device. But God is not a God of evil doings. If God will permit a purpose that is evil, it is because he needs to make sure that the people have a new direction.
Why are we dragging the divinity?
We must drag the divinity
because
into
I'm
this.
Sure, hold on, sir.
Femi,
I know you're a clergyman. No, you have your
Please allow me.
I will allow you. Okay. You are here. In fact, you are allowed. That's why we have like 1 hour with you or so. I'm not sure, because Nigerians will say that if there is possible that God will just look at us from above and said, what's wrong with these people? I'm not sure that God is interested in the choices we keep making. No, my point is this: in the choices we keep making as a people, either for or against, in our choice at the state level, local level, at the federal levels, and the outcome. Why should the divinity be bothered about these? And if you are talking about God, at your end, God is for everybody. He's at the other end as well. So can we just leave our God in this matter and be responsible for our choices while God reigns in the supreme affairs of men?
Thank you, Femi. I will lay the issue of
SDP has God, PDP has God, APC has God.
I will lay the issue of bringing God to the matter to rest after making one question.
Okay.
The people of Israel, when they were supposed to be enjoying Samuel as a prophet, said we need a king just like the other nations of the world. The permissive will of God, he allowed them. Did Saul reign for long? Now, let us leave the Bible and come to Nigeria and still about God. There was a man who made sure that all the 5 registered political parties endorsed him as presidential candidate. And I remember my leader, late leader Okubola Ige, will say, oh, these are the 5 fingers of a leprous hand. And Abacha was determined to rule Nigeria through the 5 leprous fingers. And you want to tell me that the hand of God did not come to play?
How so?
Ask me the next question.
Okay. No, you didn't prove anything. You only make conjecture.
So you want to tell me that it is a human being that killed Abacha?
I don't know about that.
Oh, well, then I'm telling you that God will not allow Abacha to die if it was not in the will of God.
Okay, so how does it relate to these?
It tells you that God is all powerful. We do not pray for any fatalities, but anything can happen. Less than fatalities that will derail whatever any superhuman being thinks he can do in Nigeria.
You talked about the APC having issues, even in the state, you know, with some of their leaders.
Yes.
But then, while those concerns are there, you have not been seeing court cases flying around, at least in Osun State. The concerns are there, and there are. You don't see them burning down the house, at least as of today. You don't see 11, 12, 13 court cases all over the place. The APC at the national level, where there might be interest, CPC block, the ACN Lagos boys, the AMPP guys. No, let me land so that you can answer me properly.
All right.
They still have a leader.
Yes.
Today, the party chairman is Netanyahu Yitwad. The party supremo, as it is in their own constitution, every president is the overall leader. they take him, even
Yes.
there might be concerns. In the state, they have a leader, they have a gubernatorial candidate. There are concerns about maybe an aspirant. You talked about Tobayelo Mishore,
Yes.
who is not really, in the same place with them right now. But they still know that Ambo is, Ebanji is a gubernatorial candidate.
Yes.
That means they have been able to, manage their affairs. How come the opposition parties have not? In fact, somebody talk about concession.
Yes.
You take, you give, you
Yes.
give, you take. But in this opposition, it seems everybody wants to take it all. This is why we are here. And that is why the booby trap is all over the place. Won't you speak to the internal wranglings and managing their affairs? The way APC have been able, even if it's Baba Sokwe, there is one Baba that will whip everybody in line and they fall in line.
All right.
Can't they cue from that?
You are looking at the picture from outside and you think even within the APC they are falling in line. I will address that as one question. And then within the opposition, what is really the situation? I've answered it even several times in this interview and I will answer it again. Let me start with the opposition. The hand of the ruling party is there to ensure that there is a figure, there is an agent, there is a mole that is planted among the opposition political parties so the center cannot hold. And that mole usually is being funded, is either a minister already or he has been promised one thing or the other, because the big largesse of the emperor controlling so much in the unitary state of Nigeria that we pretend to be Federal Republic makes it impossible for smaller entities like governors, which will not be the case. They should be coordinate governments. And so that takes care of that. For what is happening in the opposition, I've answered it again. Now, talking about the APC, you are seeing what you see superficially. You are saying they are not in court. But I ask you questions. You must remember one thing. In spite of political divides, all of us politicians of perhaps the same age group, not being much older than the other, we are all friends. Even across age groups, we are all friends. I want to ask you, Femi, I know you are the interviewer. Has my very good friend and brother, Oyebamiji, been able to reach and speak, whether on phone or physically, with my other good friend and brother, Iyola Omishori? Answer that question.
You are the ones that are friends with them. You should answer me.
Because from what I have heard,
I'm not their friends. I'm not the enemy. You are the close one with them.
I am friends to all of them.
Okay,
in some cases, family friends.
So
but I tell you that what I hear as complaints are that, and you remember another friend and brother of mine, Sunday Akiri, also alleged that, we may do without Omishore because, in fact, Ambo has tried everything to reach him. He's not able to reach him. And Iyola Omishore is keeping quiet. The silence of Iyola Omishore, my very good friend and brother that we have worked together, I know him very well.
You are sounding upbeat about this Iyola Omishore. Is that something you want to tell us?
I'm going there. I'm saying that his silence means a lot. And then you see, there are other
is it
gauges.
The
there are other gauges. I've not told you that, and I've not spoken to him about
that.
I
wouldn't need what you are not telling me about that. I would rather do with what you are telling me.
Not allowing me to
architect,
speak.
is he your
I am not aware of that.
Okay, all right.
I am not aware of that at all. That's not even in my thinking. I doubt if it can be in his thinking. Okay. I seriously doubt.
Okay. But because you are sounding upbeat.
No, with the way it is because he was a governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party, and I was one of the closest to him at that time. In fact, a main campaigner for him to be governor as at that time.
So that's that affinity.
And he's from Ife. My mother was from Ife.
Okay.
Ife is a small place. We are all extended cousins one way or the other. But you also ask a few other questions. Do you think courts are the only gauges of how people would react to certain situations? There are other gauges. When you also check on who was with who when he was celebrating this, who was not there, across political divides, any of my friends that is celebrating anything, I will strive to be there. Iyola Omishore had a wedding ceremony for one of his children recently. You need to check who was there, who was not there, to know if all is well within the APC.
Are you bothered?
They may not be able to say it. I will say it. Why should I be bothered about it?
Yeah.
What I should be bothered
What
about
we can see is
that there
at least
should be
their
a
house-
coalition. Listen, Femi,
their house is still in order.
their house is not in order. I mean, yeah, Sunday, let's dwell on that.
The Sunday Akere conversation you talked about happened on this desk.
Exactly.
And he didn't say what you have said exactly like
Okay, so what did he say?
that. Okay. We'll play the tape. No, he didn't say.
Femi.
Because no.
Play the
Architect,
tape. Let
hold
the
on.
world see
We
what
will
Sunday
do that
Akere
if
said.
we have to do.
All right.
I'm the one who asked that particular question.
Okay.
And he didn't say it that way.
So
Although
how
he
did-
said some
how-
of those things.
Okay,
But let's go ahead.
exactly.
Talk about
Okay.
that.
All
We
right.
will. If we have to.
So their house is not in order. That's the truth.
Okay.
And a strong coalition with the SDP, the PDP that is not in the pocket of the president, the ADC that is not in the pocket of the president, and all other political parties, the PRP, the NDC of Seriake Dixon, will come together, should come together, and you'll be shocked how many in the main party right now will also come to join. There is still Bala Mohammed in Bauchi, who was thinking ADC, APC, and eventually he burst out saying, oh, the APC is after him. You will be shocked. So many things may happen.
All right, just to get things back into proper perspective, what I was trying to say about Dele Farotimi was, I said, and that was on Daily Post Nigeria about some days ago, 2027, the position preparing for election, Tinubu, INEC preparing for coronation. That's what Dele Farotimi said. There's also another that says Dele Farotimi raises emergency alarm, INEC, Tinubu, ADC, Peter Obi. There might be no election 2027. All right, at this time, we're taking a quick breather. When we return, the conversation continues.